the control to the pituitary gland is from the hypothalamus. So these other glands are going to go on to be affected by anything and everything that's going to start here.
All the glands?
Everything that's going to happen. Thyroid, thymus, adrenals, ovaries, testes, pancreas, parathyroids. It's going to start right up there.
In the diencephalon or the
Hypothalamus.
How exactly does the hypothalamus control the pituitary?
Oh, that gets very interesting. Oh, Nicole.
Sorry, I have big questions.
That is so much of a fun question too. And to just give you a brief rundown. Y'all know I'm not an artist, okay?
You're feeling that.
It's great. Okay. Hypothalamus. Posterior pituitary. Anterior pituitary. The posterior pituitary, completely nervous tissue. What's the hypothalamus? Nervous tissue. The anterior is cellular. So, on the posterior pituitary, if this is nervous tissue and this is nervous tissue, oops, y'all should have told me I spelled that wrong, okay? We're going to see little things, synapse, because it's nerve to nerve, right? Okay? Well, this time, I'm going to need some kind of portal system, and I'm going to have one. We'll get to it, all right? And this time, this nervous tissue, the product that it creates is going to need to travel through that portal system and affect all the cells that are located in the cellular area. Does that make sense? I've just given you a brief rundown because that's going to become clear. Okay? The posterior pituitary is only going to produce 2 hormones. That's it. It's going to produce anti-diuretic hormone, and it's going to produce oxytocin. That's it. Every other hormone's going to have to come from the anterior. Aren't you glad you asked? But if you can keep this in mind, okay? And if you can keep in mind that the hypothalamus is responsible for stimulating hormones, and that the anterior pituitary is responsible for releasing hormones, that's a huge chunk of what you need to know. So kind of keep this picture in mind. All right? So, to have a really good understanding, okay, let's just do a quick comparison of the endocrine and the nervous. And this is on page 632 of your textbook. The similarities between the nervous and the endocrine, both associated with the brain. Hypothalamus, for example. And then, as we look at the endocrine system, we'll just do a quick little brief check on this epithalamus. Okay? Not a lot. One of them, for some of these chemical messengers, one of them is a neurotransmitter, one of them is a hormone. Epinephrine. And the nervous system, it's a neurotransmitter. And the endocrine system, it's a hormone. They cooperate with each other. Don't have much of a choice because you've got the hypothalamus right there. When we look at the nervous system, we say that it can secrete neuroendocrine peptides, those amino acid chains. We also refer to these as neurohormones, okay? And these can be released into the endocrine into the circulatory system. In some cases, a part of the endocrine system is going to be innervated directly by the nervous system, the adrenal glands. Do you remember the medulla of the adrenal gland and how I said that's an area? Do you remember how we watched the nerve make its way all the way to the medulla of the adrenal gland and synapse with the cells in the adrenal, the medulla of the adrenal glands? There you go. That's how we're going to have it be innervated directly for the production of that epinephrine. Yes, no, maybe. So this is how they're similar. Their differences. With the nervous system, the transport of the product. The transport of the product in the nervous system was the axon, where that vesicle flew down to the terminal buds and was released by the terminal bud into the synaptic cleft. With the endocrine system, the product is going to make it to the blood. The response in the nervous system, the response to that chemical that gets released is very quick, okay? We're talking milliseconds for the response in the nervous system. For the endocrine system, it can be delayed, and in some cases, delayed by years. But for the most part, seconds to minutes, maybe hours, maybe a couple of days.
What do you mean by years delayed?
Some of the long-acting hormones that can act on the body, like from the pancreas, okay, can be long-term.
Like growing?
Like
growth
no,
hormone?
like the control of some of the fats and the sugars.
Oh.
Okay, they can actually be long-term. The duration of the response In the nervous system, when we got a response in the nervous system, it occurred quickly. If you're walking along and you bump your toe, you don't bump your toe and stand there and go, ow. Okay? It's a quick response. You bump your toe and you're immediately, you know, ready to blow up whatever you got your foot hit on. Okay? Endocrine. The response can last quite a while. For example, he was given the example of the heart rate speeding up, and then after everything calmed back down, the heart rate was still going because of the epinephrine that was still in the system. Did y'all pick up on that in the little video? Okay. Signals are different, which I don't really care about if y'all know that or not. That's just showing, you know, some of the differences. So now, the fun begins. Oh yeah. Page 635 of your textbook. Our pituitary gland and our hypothalamus. My drawing on the board. Do y'all recognize it now? That was maybe a good response. I don't know. Now, notice that we're going to take this area right here, showing our area of the hypothalamus and our pituitary gland. And let's blow it up and bring it right here. Okay? So, my hypothalamus, the region right here of my hypothalamus, come down into the green pea. And the green pea is pretty much split in half, so that we end up with a posterior pituitary and the anterior pituitary. These are termed hypophysis. Somebody got inventive in lab that day. Maybe I should go look up the Greek meaning of that. Now, if I mentioned earlier that anterior and posterior. Posterior is nervous tissue. Nerve is represented by neuro. So therefore, the posterior pituitary gland is known as the neurohypophysis. Anterior is cellular, and this one is known as the adenohypophysis. I'm not going to do it. Okay, don't ask me why. But that's the adeno, neuro is the posterior. So the hypothalamus and the pituitary gland is the area where the nervous system, the hypothalamus, and the endocrine system, the pituitary, meet. The hypothalamus regulates secretions of the anterior pituitary portion.